Monday or Friday?
In your world or ours?
Both.
Friday in everybody else's world, Monday in yours.
Okay.
So,
Okay. All good.
kind of a hybrid in ours.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, we've got defensive coordinator Tyson Summers. We're just going to jump into questions. Samantha, you want to start us off?
Coach, 3-0 to start conference play this year. I believe the first since Helton's first year here. You know, a lot to attribute to both sides of the ball, but what can you tell us from the defensive side? Just what's unique about this year's group?
Yeah, I continue to kind of say, you know, just how fortunate we are with the players that we have. Again, I know I've said it a lot since I've been up here. This is, you know, the most fun year I've had coaching. We've got great people, guys that are playing really hard, playing well together. I think we have a unique chemistry with the players that we've got on our team. We're really fortunate, you know, across the board in our room, but on the defensive side of the ball, we have unbelievable coaches, and I think that they've been able to develop those relationships with the players. Our guys do a great job of us being able to kind of communicate strengths and weaknesses within a call or a situation, and they go out there and apply it. And to their credit, they play, you know, really, really hard. So I think a lot of that just comes back to, like I said, chemistry and guys understanding what they, you know, the goals that they're trying to achieve. We keep trying to just stress over and over, just, you know, what is your standard, and being able to hold themselves and the rest of us to that accountability, and then being able to kind of understand what the process is. And I think we've been able to do that.
Looking at Kennesaw State, you know, obviously, like you've been saying, big win for them the other day. You know, what you see out of them offensively?
Yeah, well, and I'm really familiar with Kennesaw State. You know, I've known Coach Bohannon for probably 20 years. Coach Bohannon, you know, like me from you know, the state of Georgia, a high school coach's son. He's gone on and done really well. We have a lot of the same, you know, people from both of our backgrounds at Georgia Southern and the option, and you know, I'm just really impressed, and I always have been. Like I said, we've talked about it a lot in here, and with our players, just, I mean, they're, you know, 10, 11 years ago, started a program from kind of scratch and build that thing up to one of the top 5, you know, or 6, you know, teams in the country in FCS football. Every year in FCS football, they had a top 5 offense. And so I think what you're seeing again is just kind of that fruit, you know, very, very similar to, you know, Sam Houston a year ago. Sam Houston a year ago, you know, was a dominant FCS team, comes into our league and, you know, was playing really good football, playing a good brand of football, and, you know, has a lot of close games early, and obviously they've gotten that thing flipped around and are ultra successful, you know, now, and I think you're seeing the same thing with Kennesaw State. Again, that's a place that I'm very familiar with. Tim Glanton is a running backs coach there. I met Tim Glanton when I was 13 years old. He was one of my high school coaches, and when I was looking for a place to let me walk on and play football in college, he drove me all over the state of Georgia and the state of Florida every weekend to let me have walk-on tryouts. And so that staff and those people are really special to me for a lot of reasons. And we're looking forward to having an opportunity for them to be able to come to our place on Wednesday night and showcase what we can do.
When things are going well for them, what are they accomplishing? Are they primarily running team, because that's sort of how it looks, and kind of how do they operate offensively? Yeah,
I think, you know, like we've talked about, you know, their first 9 years, they were entrenched in under center option. Very much, you know, Coach Bohannon was with Paul Johnson for 20 years as an assistant coach in the triple option, the under center world, and that's really who they were those first 9 years there at Kennesaw. Coach Chestnut, you know, who's our works with our tight ends here, was our offense coordinator during that period of time. They've adjusted and kind of gone into the gun the last 2 years with more of what they would refer to as a pistol option. They're, you know, going to be able to run the ball. Their O-line plays extremely hard, gritty, tough. Up front, you know, they play with 2 or 3 different tight ends, but you can kind of see the transition. Their big back that they kind of bring in on 3rd and 4th down. You know, he was a B-back, you know, in the old triple for them. Their backs are really big guys. I mean, they're 225-pound backs, really thick, hard runners. Receivers do a good job. And like any type of offense, it goes with the quarterback, you know. I think they have the ability to throw and pass. Obviously, had a lot of big throws the other night versus Liberty, really got them going. And a lot like most of those teams that are kind of entrenched and rooted in triple option, you know, everybody winds up spending their time on the option, run game, run game, run game, and then you look up and, you know, they completed 7 passes for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that's how you lost. And so we've got to do a good job with both of those things because they have the ability to do both.
I think, just from memory, I think they lead the league in fewest sacks allowed this year. Is that a product of that offense, or do they have a great offensive line?
Both. I think, like I said, I think their offensive line does a great job. I think they very much know who they are. So I don't think that they're asking them to do things that they can't necessarily do. And what I mean by that is having too much volume of protections and things like that. I think they know who they are. I think the ability of the quarterback to run keeps people from wanting to feel like they can kind of sell out and run up the field. And so I think that creates a lot of it for them. And I think, you know, the quarterback's ability to get the ball out of his hand. If you watch them, you know, I mean, they're not going to sit back there at a 5-step drop and take 4.5 seconds and go through 4 reads. You know, the quarterback very much knows where he's going with the ball in the passing game before the ball's ever snapped. And they do that really well with a lot of their motions, and they do that with their formations. So I think it's all kind of tied together, which is what good offenses do.
You look at that Sam Houston game, you know, defensively there, you know, were a few missed tackles that led to big scores there, and then the UTEP game, the miscommunication that gave them their 1 touchdown there. But you all still seem to, you know, claw back in games and stay in games defensively. I feel like mentality is a big thing with this defense this year. You know, how can you speak to the mentality of the defense not, you know, breaking after a couple of, you know, missed up?
Sure. Well, I'll go back to the UTEP score that you referred to earlier. You know, the UTEP score is 100%. I've told our players and Coach Helton, I mean, that was really on me. You know, I had some indecision on this call or that call. I made a call late, and it put us in a bind, and that is what it is. But to your point, we've done a really good job of being able to limit some explosives. And I think that's been a huge difference for us this year. A big part of it is, I don't know the exact statistic, you know, we're probably playing 20 less snaps a game than we did a year ago. And, you know, I mean, it's at least a quarter that we're not on the field. And I give, you know, Coach Helton and Coach Friend and our offense staff and our offense players a lot of credit for that, to being able to maintain drives, being able to, you know, possess the ball. And it's made a big difference for us. But I do think we have a gritty bunch. I do think we have a tough bunch of guys, and I do think they take a lot of pride. I mean, it hurts them when someone scores. And, you know, I feel like really, you know, post-Alabama, I think that they've done a nice job of being able to limit those scores and those opportunities. We've had our backs against the wall, you know, a handful of times where we've been able to show up big. And you got to give those players a lot of credit for being able to do that, and our assistant coaches for being able to get them in that mindset. But there's no question that our guys have done an outstanding job to this point of being able to be gritty and to be tough and to be able to understand the moment, because they've been able to shine in a lot of those.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all.